Hello and welcome to our channel. Tonight we have a story that will make you rethink everything you know about the past. We're talking about a terrifying encounter that happened to a famous actor, one you all know and love. He went looking for a quiet place to get away, a peaceful retreat. But what he found was a terrifying secret hidden in the shadows of history. This is the true story of what happened to him on a secluded country estate and the antique telescope that showed him things no one was ever meant to see. The actor, a man known for his fearless roles in action movies, Tom Hanks, felt a weariness he couldn't shake. The constant cameras, the interviews, the non-stop travel. It was all too much. Tom needed to disappear for a little while. So he rented a sprawling, isolated country estate in upstate New York, a place where the hills rolled like gentle waves and the nights were quiet, lit only by the moon and a billion stars. Tom arrived late in the evening. The house was beautiful, old and filled with the scent of polished wood and forgotten dreams. It had an observatory on the top floor, a small glass dome with a huge antique telescope at its center. Tom had always been fascinated by space, by the great silent expanse of the universe. This, he thought, was perfect. But then, Tom noticed something strange. The telescope's eyepiece was cloudy. He wiped it, but the fog wouldn't go away. Instead, it seemed to swirl like smoke on the inside of the lens. The stars vanished, and a single image appeared. A blurry photograph in sepia tones of a woman. She was beautiful, with a gentle smile and eyes that held a hint of sadness. The image, it was old, very old. He backed away, his heart beating a little faster. He looked at the telescope, then back at the eyepiece. The image was gone. The stars were back, sharp and clear. Must be a trick of the light, Tom muttered to himself. He went to bed, but the face of the woman in the photograph stayed in his mind.
The next night, Tom was drawn back to the observatory. The moon was a little dimmer, but the stars were still bright. He sat down at the telescope, and the new thought struck him. The telescope, it felt different, colder, a deep, freezing cold. Tom looked through the eyepiece again. The stars were there for a second. Then the same strange fog began to swirl. This time it was faster. The image of the woman appeared, clearer than before, and next to her, another image, a little boy with bright, curious eyes. Then a man standing tall with a stern expression. A family. But the images were broken, like a film reel with missing frames. Then a whisper, so faint he almost thought it was the wind outside. A dry, brittle sound like old leaves rustling. It said Tom's name, Tome. He pulled his head away, a sudden knot in his stomach. He was alone. The house was completely silent. He stood there, frozen in the cold air of the observatory. The whispering, it stopped, but the air, it felt heavy now, like someone else was in the room with him. Tom looked back at the telescope. The fog was gone. The stars were shining once again. But on the base of the telescope where the metal was old and tarnished. New writing had appeared, scratched into the bronze as if with a fingernail. It read, "Look at the big tree." A shiver ran down his spine. The big tree. There was one on the property. A massive, ancient oak that stood alone in the center of the fields. He had seen it on his drive-in. A big, dark tree with twisted branches that reached for the sky. He ran from the room, his mind racing. He was a man of logic, a man who faced down villains and monsters on screen. But this was different. This was real.
Tom didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind, it all sounded like a footstep. It all sounded like a whisper. The next morning, he went out into the fields, a sense of dread pulling him towards the great oak tree. The fog clung to the ground, a thick white shroud that hid everything. He could barely see his hands in front of his face. He walked slowly, his boots crunching on the damp grass. Tom reached the tree. Its massive trunk was gnarled and ancient, its branches twisted and thick. The fog was even heavier here. He walked around the base, his heart pounding in his chest, and then he saw it, a piece of metal, old and rusted. It was an old locket hanging from a low-hanging branch. He reached up, his fingers trembling, and opened it. Inside was the same family he had seen in the telescope, the woman, the boy, the man. And on the inside of the locket, a new message, scratched into the metal with a single word: help. Tom dropped the locket and stumbled back, his eyes wide. The fog, it started to move. It wasn't the wind. It was swirling, gathering into shapes, tall, thin shapes. They began to march, not towards him, but towards the house. The sound of their footsteps, a soft, wet sound on the grass, grew louder and louder. He turned and ran. He ran faster than he ever had in his life, the whispers returning, louder this time. He burst through the front door, slamming it shut behind him. The house was cold and dark. He was trapped. He looked out the window. The ghostly figures were gone. The fog was gone. The tree was just a tree. Then he heard a new sound. It wasn't footsteps. It was a single, slow, deliberate ticking, coming from the top of the house, the observatory, the telescope. Tom had to get out. He grabbed his keys, fumbling with them in his shaking hands. The front door was locked. He tried the back door, locked. All the windows sealed shut. Tom was a prisoner in the house. The ticking sound from the observatory grew louder and louder, a slow, thudding sound, like a heart. Tom went to the observatory, a sudden, desperate sense of courage filling him. The telescope was glowing. A cold, pale blue light pulsed from the eyepiece. He looked inside. The family was there again. The woman, the man, the boy. But their faces were twisted, terrified. They were all looking up. And behind them, a tall, shadowy figure with no face. A dark, black shape, its edges like smoke. The figure was raising its hand, and a loud, piercing scream filled the air. A scream of pure agony, the scream of the family. Then the image vanished. The telescope began to shake violently. The whole observatory was shaking. The glass dome above his head began to crack. He heard the sound of footsteps on the stairs, coming up, faster and faster. They were heavy, clumping sounds, like the steps of a very large man. Tom turned, frantic. The door to the observatory was swinging open. A tall, dark figure stood there. It wasn't the same figure as in the vision. This one was different. It was a man, dressed in old clothes from the 1800s. He was tall, but his back was bent, and in his hand he held a hammer. He raised the hammer and started walking towards Tom. Tom backed away. His heart stops. The man said nothing. He just smiled. A slow, terrifying, empty smile. Tom looked around the observatory, desperate for a way out.
Then he saw it. A single, small, rusted nail on the floor. He remembered the old legends about how a ghost can't cross a circle of salt or a ghost can't touch something from the living world. Tom picked up the nail, his hand shaking. He looked at the man with the hammer. He was getting closer. Tom threw the nail at the man. It flew through the air and it hit him. It hit the man right in the chest. And the man, he stopped. He looked down at the nail, a look of pure confusion on his face. Then he looked up at Tom, and his eyes, which had been empty and dark, began to glow, a deep, malevolent red. The man smiled, and then he started to laugh. A deep, booming laugh that echoed through the entire house. The house began to shake again. The walls began to crack. The sound was deafening. Tom knew. He knew the man wasn't just a ghost. He was something else. Something far, far worse. The man took a step forward, then another. The laughter filled the air. Tom knew he had to get out. He ran as fast as he could, the laughter following him, echoing down the halls. He found a window, grabbed a heavy antique chair, and with all his strength smashed the glass. He climbed out and fell to the ground, scraping his hands and knees on the broken glass. Tom never looked back. He got in his car and drove away, the sound of laughter still echoing in his ears. He never returned to the estate. He never spoke of what happened there. But some say you can still hear it if you go to that estate at night. The sound of a man laughing. The sound of a ghost forever trapped.
Was the man with the hammer the one who killed the family? Or was he the one who was trying to help? Was the telescope a gateway to the past or a prison for the dead? We'll never know. But we do know one thing. Some secrets are best left buried. What do you think? Was Tom right to run away, or should he have stayed to help the family? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales that haunt the dark.